Welcome back to the Mix Academy. I'm David Glenn. I'm a professional mixer, audio mentor, and I'm here to help you take the good, the bad, and the ugly of home recordings and turn them into hit records. Today, I'm going to share my exact settings for headphone plugins that I use throughout the mix. I switch between different ones. I'm going to share why, the how, give you a close look at all of the settings and what I'm doing to deliver professional mixes on a daily basis. But first, if you haven't already, I recently locked myself in the studio and recorded an entire start to finish course and provide the mix breakdown tutorials for a new song by the band Navigate. I'll link to it down in the description. You can download the tracks. The mix tutorials are there for you to follow along, see what I'm doing, beg, borrow, steal from that, deliver a mix that's on par, if not better. Hopefully, my goal is to help you make better mixes than even what I've delivered. The only way to get your hands on it is through the GoFundMe link. Recently went through some hard times, got some medical stuff that I'm taking care of, catching up on things. It would be a great help. Any donation amount will get you access to the course. As soon as I get that notification, boop, I'm hitting you back, thanking you and providing you the link to access the course. Full start to finish course probably would be around $100-$150 if I were selling it outright like the rest of my courses, but you can get it for $1, for $5, whatever you can do. I really appreciate that. Link in the description. So now that we have Pro Tools open, we're going to come over here, and this is actually the session that you will get. I don't know if we'll need to play anything from it today, but the plugin that I go to day in, day out, crazy. Some of you who may have seen my stuff with the Pro Audio files or any of my stuff over at Produce Like a Pro or Recording, any of the tutorials I've done in the years past, you will have known that I'm a huge SonarWorks fan. SonarWorks system-wide reference. I don't even know what number they're on now. It's been a couple of years, but I switched over and I'm using D-Sonic real phones. D-Sonic was kind enough, a buddy of mine, my good friend and Grammy-winning mastering engineer Joey Fernandez recommended I check it out. He shared some of his settings with me, and then we kind of went back and forth with the 650s. I use the Sennheiser HD 650 headphones, and he uses the much more expensive LCD-X, I believe it is, or LCD-4. I can't remember the model that he uses, but I'll look that up. I'll put a link to all of it in the description. Anyways, we went back and forth, and we were just kind of sharing settings, and man, I really came to love real phones. Before I go through and kind of break down all my settings, I want to come over here, and I want to show you again. I mentioned I used to use SonarWorks, incredible tool. What I found was that SonarWorks, for my particular headphones, this may not be the case for all of them. I'm sure it's not. But for mine, I noticed that Joey was always having to manipulate my upper mid-range in mastering. And he mentioned that to me, and I thought, dang it, man, I wonder what's going on. And for some reason, just the Sennheiser HD 650 profile, the calibration profile, the more we dug into it, I just didn't feel like the upper mids were as I wanted them, as I needed them to be for my particular ear and style of mixing. And so I made the switch, and I checked out actually first Acoustica Sienna. I'll come over here and show you their website. I love this plugin. I still use this plugin to reference in different rooms. If you come down here, you'll see they have volume A, B, C, D. If I go in the plugin and launch that, we'll put real phones aside for a second. It's just limitless, the number of rooms and sounds that you get with this plugin. And I'll show you some of my favorites were the Jabba the Hutt going on here. So we have NS10s with a sub. We have the Jabba, which is in the Spitfire package. I forget which volume that's in, but that also has a sub. Really, really enjoyed mixing on this. It gave me a lot of detail. I love the low-end response. The 650s, for those of you who have heard them or know them, they don't have practically any subs, and so you need a lot of help, which I'll show you what I'm doing in real phones here in a minute to get that help. But great tool. Acoustica Sienna, tons of rooms. You can come through here. These guys, incredible people as well, hooked me up to be able to feature this and just kind of share the fact that I'm using it. But incredible tool. I use it almost every single mix. Towards the end of a mix, to finish a mix, I like to reference and hear multiple sets of speakers. But we'll put that one away. Come back over here and share the fact that I used to use SonarWorks. They have some speaker calibration presets for like NS10s and things like that. The mono, I'm drawing a blank, but the mid-range master little speaker there. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that. But I used to use that paired with Goodhertz can opener, and this would add a little bit of crossfeed, and you can check out, they've got tons of presets and things that help you emulate mixing on monitors. I love mixing on monitors. I used to mix on speakers all the time when I had a professionally treated space that I worked in, both at Stark Lake Studios, Azimuth in Indiana, and then my own space back in Colorado Springs before we moved. Well, when we hit the road, started traveling Airbnbs and things like that, I had always mixed a little bit on cans, and then in all my courses and tutorials, I mixed on cans. And I just Wi-Fi'd it. I love the way my mixes sounded when I used headphones. And so I would use SonarWorks paired with this to emulate the kind of experience of mixing on. And then what I found is I really didn't like mixing on monitors as much as I thought I did. And so I ended up most of the time, 90% of the time, I would just be using SonarWorks. And if you aren't already familiar, SonarWorks is headphone calibration profile. So if you come in here to SonarWorks and I show you what's up here, you'll see and most of these tools are going to offer something similar. The main curve, which one is, the before is the purple. So this down here, and I told you the Sennheiser HD650s have almost no low end. So nothing down in here, right? And then it got a nice low mid bump, and then kind of evens out pretty flat. I mean, no headphone is going to be truly flat, but regardless of the marketing or the gimmicks they try to employ. But then you can see here this mid-range issue here, kind of 2K up to probably 5 or 6K. They show that the 650s have a dip there, and then some boost and things, a little spaghetti mess kind of thing happening up there, like someone flipped a noodle. And then you look over here, the simulated after. Actually, let's first look at the calibration. The calibration is boosting bottom end, cleaning up those low mids, and doing the opposite of what they find the frequency curve to be for these particular headphones. And then you see the simulated after kind of has that flat. The goal is to provide a flat response so that you can make accurate decisions. If you go to boost the bottom end in a kick drum, or the click in the kick, the top end, your mid-range in the vocal, and you push that, you want to be able to trust that what you're doing is accurate to a flat curve. Which there's no truly flat curve. You're mixing in a room, your room's going to impart characteristics, all that kind of stuff we'll save for another day. But SonarWorks, their goal, and they do a great job of it, is to help flatten that curve so that if your cans have a ton of bottom end, maybe it's the opposite of mine, and they're producing a lot of low end, a lot of bass, they'll help to even that out by cutting low end. And then whenever you use referencing, I swear by referencing, tons of videos I'll link above and below to my referencing trick. It does what you need it to do. For me, in this particular case, this mid-range didn't feel like, and this actually may be no slam on SonarWorks, this may be an issue where my particular cans, be it that they've worn out, they're older, maybe I need new pads, I don't know. But for whatever reason, I found that the upper mid-range just was not accurate to cut that, or to boost it, for what my particular cans needed. And so I moved on from SonarWorks. I still check my mixes with them, but my main tool is Headphone. So we'll pull that up, we'll give it a look, and we'll kind of talk about the settings that I've chosen and why I don't use kind of one of the main features of this plugin. So if we zoom in, you'll see I've got the correction profile. If we click, I think you can view the correction. Let's come over here and look at correction. So you can see they have a different idea of what's going on with the correction profile. It's pretty similar, right? You got the low mid thing happening. You've got the mid range thing, but for whatever reason, I feel like this is giving me a far more accurate picture in the upper mid range. And there's a couple of tricks here with the low end as well that Headphones allows me to do. They've got this section here, this module for subwoofer bass boost. And there's a couple different presets that you can choose, but I've chosen this because, again, the 650s don't give me very much bottom end at all. And so I come to the deep bass, and I'm always kind of manipulating this between 25 and 40, 50%, pushing that back and forth. If I'm working on the kick and the bass, I'm going to boost this up, and I'm going to check it with a nice presence of the bass, the low end. But whenever I'm mixing overall, I put that kind of back down. And I'm always referencing, always going back and forth, and I'll use adapter Magic AB for that, and click over. I'll show you a quick look at that for those of you who have never seen it before. This is a brilliant tool. Love these guys and what they do. Adapter AB, and it's going to allow me to import references and click back and forth between theirs and mine. Just make sure you level match. I got, again, whole video, I'll link it in the description. Level match and find like the high point, the chorus, and then I'll check my chorus and their chorus. You want to find songs that are similar, and there's a whole, technique to referencing. But when I use this tool and I'm checking the low end, I like to be able to boost that and compare and make sure that I'm hearing things accurately. And so I'll do my best to match the reference. And at this point, it's become second nature doing this day in, day out as a professional audio engineer. You kind of get the hang of what your system is giving you, and you know what to manipulate within the EQ and whatnot to give you a professional result. But anyways, that's his real phones. I'm using 75% of the correction curve, which is SonarWorks. I always used 100%. That could have also been part of the problem, maybe it was too extreme, but I dig this. And then something else I really like is they've got these extra modules. Remember I mentioned over here that I would use Can Opener from Goodhertz. Well, coming back here, I don't need to. I've got the angle setting, which I prefer. If I double click that, you'll see the default is 60 degrees. I boost that out to 90. I like to feel the mix wider. I like to have that wider stereo image. Just to my ears, my preference, that sounds good to me. That sounds like something I enjoy listening to when I'm working. And then, I don't know, is it HRTF? Yeah, so I backed off the actual HRTF and pulled that back to 50%. I've got the pressure up to 1. Again, this is a lot of trial and error with my mastering engineer, Joey Fernandez. Give a shout out to him, incredible friend. And we went painstakingly back and forth with this and listening to references and different mixes to try to find the sweet spot of where we liked these settings. And I'm spoiled. Joey, I'm pretty sure, is still rocking the same setup with his LCD X's. I think he has the LCD, the Manny Maricoin version, and the X's, or I forget the other model that he has, but he keeps pushing me on them, man. It's a pretty penny to invest in those, but we'll see sooner than later, hopefully. So anyways, we got the different settings. So now it's the SonarWorks correction curve in one plugin. It's the Goodhertz Can Opener in the same plugin. You've got polarity switches and different things that you can do with it. I haven't really messed with those much. But the subwoofer boost, beautiful tool. I use it daily. It's my default. I leave it on. Density, you can see those settings there, exactly how I'm using them. I never touch those. The only thing I do touch is the response, and I shift that depending upon if I'm working on the kick and bass or not. I also rock a sub pack. The sub pack, the new one, they've had some insane shipping delays. I don't even know what's going on with those guys over there anymore. But my contact, I think, is even gone from the company. Really unfortunate, because the sub pack is the number two tool that I recommend for anyone mixing your own music professionally. What an incredible tool. You can find them still on eBay. Some of my coaching students, I recommend to them, and they'll find them on eBay. You just got to be patient and find a good deal. But the Subpack, SUBPAC, incredible tool. Definitely recommend that. And it's just unbelievable to be able to have all of these tools within the same plugin. So coming back over here, we mentioned that we had Goodhertz. The other thing was VSX. Many of you know I have a VSX video. It's done really well for me on the channel. I like VSX. Steven Slate sent it to me. Actually, shout out to him. Really huge blessing. Mine finally suffered from the headband breakage. The plastic band broke on me. He sent me a brand new pair. It's got the metal band. I mean, it got here in like 2-3 days. I was in the middle of a project. I use it to finish mixes, and it was a huge blessing for him to hook me up and send that my way. Love the tool. I use it at the end of my mixing process, just like I mentioned using Sienna. I'll pull VSX open, and I like to be able to switch between different rooms. Now, I will say, if you choose to mix, you can see I really like the LCD4 in here, and I actually really enjoy the headphones, the way they sound with, if I remember, that's new. I haven't seen that. But the HD Linear 2, the headphones by themselves, no emulations, no monitoring emulations, Headphone Linear 2, HD Linear 2. It sounds incredible, man. I really enjoy listening to music with that. But if you're going to use something like Acoustica Sienna or VSX, I recommend you pick your favorite room and rock that for 90% of your mixing process. And then if you find a room that you like better for checking your low end, like how I use real phones and the subwoofer section, absolutely go for that. You're at the end of the mix, like I'm talking about that I do. Click back and forth between some rooms, check your mix out, check the reference, and get an idea. Do you hear anything different between them that maybe jumps out at you that you're not hearing with your standard setup? But pick a standard setup and rock that and get really comfortable with that and get used to it. And then the other thing is listen to a ton of music through it. VSX has system-wide, Sienna has system-wide, SonarWorks has system-wide. Whatever system you choose to use, make sure that you watch your YouTube videos with it, watch movies with it, listen to your music with it, have listening sessions where you just fully engage with the music and learn your setup in your system. And that's a huge part of it. Actually, drop me a comment down below if you're going to schedule a listening session. What do you do? What songs do you listen to? Share some stuff with me in the comments. Let me know so I can go listen to it as well. What's up next? So VSX for me is a finishing tool. Acoustica Sienna, the same, just depends on my mood. I'll pull one or both of those up. Sienna actually has a VSX profile that's really good as well. Let's move back over here. And one thing I didn't do is I didn't touch the tone or the EQ. But what was I going to say? There was something else. Oh, real phones. So let's talk about that, right? VSX, you can emulate the different studio environments. Sienna. There's other tools out there that do that. Waves has a couple of really good ones. The CLA one is actually really good. But for me personally, I don't like it. I don't like it as my default mixing setup. And so you'll see here, I've got the ambience turned off. You've got an ambience knob you can control. Another great thing about real phones is you can control a wide range, that percentage. You can enhance it to where it's 200% wet, default 100% wet, or in my case, I turn it off. I'm not a huge fan of the speaker emulations for my default setup. I like to hear the detail. I like to know that that's pan there and this is pan there. And then this is, of course, why I reference at the end of my mixing process, I reference with multiple speaker emulations. But just personally, I haven't found that I enjoy it while I'm actually making those decisions and mixing. I miss it. Listen to music a ton on headphones, earbuds. I've got the AirPod Pros that I've actually been using quite a bit to make mixing decisions with, believe it or not. And I just prefer how music sounds on cans. I like that separation. It is important to check your mixes in those environments where you've got the bleed and the crosstalk, all that good stuff. But for me personally, I'm not using that as my go-to default. So that ambience control you'll see here is off, and I almost never turn it on until the end of the mixing process when I go to do mix notes for the mix that I'm working on. So that gives you kind of a look. You can see the exact settings, what I'm using. Again, SonarWorks, great tool. I've used it for years. I'll still turn that on and reference at the end of a mix. VSX, one of my favorites for checking those different emulations. Acoustica Sienna is an incredible tool. We're so blessed, so spoiled with tools nowadays. But there you go. You can see exactly how I'm using those things. One more tip that I'll kind of throw out there. I mention this often. I try to share this as much as possible is when you go to reference, don't just reference by clicking on your mix and then going back and forth to a reference track. That's not really referencing. You got to level match. You got to have similar references to the song that you're mixing on. If you're mixing a pop rock track, go find you a pop rock track. If you got a male vocalist, find you one with a male vocalist in a similar key, similar range, that kind of thing. And you're going to learn more from that than you ever will just kind of clicking back and forth between your song and something else. Make sure you pick good references is number one. And then secondly, what I do after level matching and making sure that mine's not louder or theirs isn't louder, kind of even them out a bit. I'm going quick because I share this tip all the time, but another thing is you want to make sure you process your mix through some loudness processing. So hit it with some parallel compression, hit your overall mix with parallel compression, mix through a clipper into a limiter, or hit your limiter if you prefer the sound of limiting over clipping. Do some loudness processing. Again, I'll link above and below to that video where I break down the entire referencing process. But I go in and I'll set up an EQ, and I'll go down to 20 or 30 hertz. And you can learn a lot from listening to references and see, do you hear or feel any energy at 20 or 30 hertz? And then you're going to slowly open that up, 30, 40 hertz. What do you get? Do you feel the pulsing of the kick? Do you hear the sustain of the bass? What are you getting at 40, 50 hertz, 60 hertz? Click back to your track. What do you get? Is your kick even present around 40 or 50 hertz compared to the reference track? Maybe you feel the kick in the reference, but yours is non-existent. Or maybe yours is just crazy hot and the reference is nice and tight and it's subtle around 40 or 50 hertz. Definitely things to keep in mind. Open that up. I'll mix with this plugin on. I will go down and actually make EQ decisions, gating decisions. I use Trigger for a lot of my mixes, and I'll come up here and I'll go to the kick drum. If I feel like the reference is tighter and I like the sound, the tempos again are similar, and I want a nice tight kick drum, I'll go into the curves and I'll come in here. This sample was already created using these features, but I'll come in and I'll choke it no matter what I need to do. I'll do it with these settings here and tighten that kick up. Let's see if it'll. So that's a super tight kick drum versus, I think it's probably already written. Yeah, so I've already kind of choked this original one shot, but let's say you needed it even tighter. You can come in here and just, you see it just tightens it up so much more, right? Use that versus gating, or if I've chosen to use a live kick and I'm gating it, then I can certainly do that as well. But I'll make those decisions, boosting low end, kick and bass relationship in the bottom end under 100 hertz by using this plugin, and it just shines a magnifying glass on your low end so you can really hear the reference and you can go back to yours and you can reverse engineer and learn so much by doing this trick. It's crazy. But once I get the bottom end working, I'll open this up and I'll actually put a high pass low cut filter and I'll take the bottom end out of the equation, and now I'm going to shine that magnifying glass on my low mids, my mids, work this up 1K, 2K, and then I may even slide this up to around 1K, and now I'm hitting 2K, 3K, 5K, whatever. You get the point, right? Check. Whenever you got this magnifying glass pointed at your mid-range, you may notice that your sibilance is out of control compared to your reference track. So you know, okay, I got to go control that sibilance. Let's go through a de-esser on. All kinds of things that you can do with this. And what I'm doing at the end of my mixing process is I'm doing that with my main setup, but then I'm also going to click over and I'm going to check and see how does it feel in VSX? How does it feel in Acoustica Sienna? How does Sonar works? What is it giving me something different? Because you may find that what you hear in your main setup is getting you 90% of the way there, but there's a couple of things that you're hearing that you want to tweak based on what you're getting in the other systems, but always remember to trust your referencing process and go back and forth to them. So, man, I've shared a bunch. I got a sore throat by the end of this one. I'm going to go get some throat coat and prepare for another video, but drop a comment. Let me know. What did you learn from this? You're going to check out Real Phones. They have a trial, not sponsored, by the way. I don't even know if they remember that they gave it to me. It's been a couple years. I think I had it for a year or so before I even tried it. And then now it's my daily driver. So go show them some love. Check out that trial. See what you think about that. Obviously, VSX is super popular. And then Acoustica Sienna. Let me know, which tool are you using? Which tool are you looking forward to trying the most? Have you tried the referencing technique? If you haven't already, I'll link to that video. And then don't forget, please, your support is greatly appreciated. I'll put a link to the GoFundMe in the first comment as well as the first little note in the description. I appreciate you guys, love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.